Okay, I want to do a quick update on this X15 90cc motorcycle I bought from Venom Motorsports right before Christmas, about a month later. My son got to ride it for about an hour in an indoor go-kart track here last weekend. First time riding it, did pretty well. I think you can look at a little quick 20-second, 30-second video I got on YouTube if you look at my channel just prior to this date. I had to point out a few things about keeping the bike upright and getting your body off versus he's into motocross where he lays the bike down. One thing that happened when we first rode it, it got very, very hot. And when I say very hot, to the point where you could smell it, kind of paint, plastic burning off of it. It slowed down a little bit to the point where I believe the piston was expanding slightly to the point where it was going to burn down or lock up, but we shut it off a few times, let it cool down, rode it some more. Seemed to get a little bit better as the evening went on, but still ran pretty hot. So hot that, just to give you an example, there's a overflow tube there in the bottom of the carburetor that used to run across the top of the cylinder on the back side of the head to the left side. That melted. In fact, there's a piece of it. I cut off the remaining 8 inches and then I just let it run down to the right side. So FYI, you may want to just do that from the beginning because of that heat. I ended up draining the fuel out of it. There's a fuel filter right there, you can see. Popped off the fuel line, put a little quart cup in there, drained out the 91 octane non-oxygenated fuel I had in there, and I put in VP 110. Seems a little extreme, but I run VP 110 in my son's KTM 50 because those seem to get extremely hot. VP 110, since it has a lower flash point, or a higher flash point, it detonates at a lower temperature. So hoping to kind of cool this thing down and run a high octane fuel in it. So and this is straight VP 110, and this KTM 50, that's a 50-to-1 mix. So and since this is a 4-cycle, changed the oil that came out of there after an hour was, it had a little shimmer to it, so I'm thinking she machined a little metal off of it as well, but chunks by any means. I put in a Yamalube 1040, got it at the local dealer I use and go to. I ended up lifting it up on the stand. I don't know if you can see it or not. Maybe. Not really. You can kind of see an 1.5 inch hole in the bottom of the fairing because the drain screw is right there. So to change the oil, you need to take the entire fairings off, which is several screws. I took a pilot bit with a 90-degree drill, drilled an 1/8 inch hole, and then took an 1.5 inch hole saw and put a nice 1.5 inch clean hole in there. Pulled the screw and drained the oil out without pulling the fairings. So slight modification. When I first video I did on this, it had a clicking sound, and I said that was probably from the chain hitting the frame. And right there's the connecting link, and you can see the clicking's starting to go away, but it is starting to machine itself into the frame. So if you want to you could possibly take the connecting link out, take a Dremel tool or a carbide bit on an air grinder and clean that up a little bit, but it's doing its own thing. The brake levers, I cut those off before we even rode it. Took a cutoff wheel. They were about 1.5 inches longer. They stuck out well beyond the handlebars or the grips. My concern was that if he fell, because these were designed for a full-size bike and the grips are not, that the lever would potentially break in the weak point right here like they normally do on full-size bikes. So cut that off on both sides. Cleaned it up with the cutoff wheel, no big deal. Other than that, we had fun. Seemed to work okay. Wish it had a little bit more power, but we'll see with the higher octane fuel, fresh oil, maybe it'll won't get quite so hot and be able to produce a little bit more power. But oh, one other thing, the fairing. It had a recess in here, and it used to be white in there because the plastic was molded into that area and I had a pan head machine screw like these here. You see those? I think I threw the screw away, so that broke. Like the plastic inside there, you can see kind of broke. So the fairing is semi-loose down here. So what I did is I took a little bit longer 6 mil 1.0 thread pitch machine screw, lock washer, flat washer, used the rubber washer that was in there, 1.25 inch fender washer with 1.25 inch rubber washer, and put it right over the whole thing. And again, this was on both sides, and I don't know if it happened when he didn't fall, so if it just vibrated loose or vibrated and broke, or it was broken shipping. To be honest with you, I don't know. But snug this up. Could use maybe a little bit of Loctite, but after doing that, holds it nicely. This plastic on these fairings is, you know, in thickness it's okay, you know, about an 1/8 inch thick, but you can tell when that broke and the pieces were coming out of it, it's very, very brittle. It's too bad it's not made out of a soft ABS plastic for a kid or something like that. You know, in the event that he did fall, maybe it'd be less apt to break. So all right, that's a quick update on where we're at currently. A few things I've done and noticed, but I guess overall we're having fun, and I'll update again after we ride it some more. Thanks.